I'm pretty much always looking for new designers and new brands to purchase from. And don't get me wrong, I love familiarity. When I find a brand that I love, I just want to purchase more and more pieces from them. But because I love fashion so much, I want to diversify my wardrobe as much as possible. I don't want to get into a situation where one brand kind of defines my entire wardrobe or closet. That being said, I've kind of gotten into a habit or like a general rule of purchasing pieces from new brands that I've never tried out before, at least 30% of the time, let's say. I also feel like we're in a time in the fashion industry or landscape where there's probably more clothing brands right now than there ever has been. Seems like everyone and their mom has a brand. It's a lot to sift through, honestly. I know it can be difficult to find really good new brands, but that's why you have people like me who can do some of that heavy lifting for you. I have some really dope brands for us to check out today. Everything from streetwear to more minimal aesthetics, elevated basics, if you will. Let's go ahead and get right into that. The first brand we're going to look at today is Redone. This is a Los Angeles-based brand that started in 2014, started by Sean Barron and Jamie Mazur. The whole basis for Redone, from what I can gather, is kind of like upcycling vintage or unused dead stock materials from the past. I would say the aesthetic is very like streetwear basics with a huge emphasis on the vintage aesthetic. Of course, this is based out of LA, and LA is one of those places that has a pretty decent scene for curated vintage. This kind of gives off that aesthetic as a brand. I would say most of the focus of this brand is in the denim. I think that's probably what they're most well known for. When I picked up my first piece from Redone, it was a pair of jeans that I absolutely love. Haven't got a chance to show these on the channel yet, but I ended up picking a beautiful pair of washed black jeans from them. This is the 60s slim model, I believe. Just love the way these jeans feel and fit. The price point for the brand is not cheap. I would definitely say it's up there, but I ended up getting my pair on sale, and as soon as I got these in hand and tried them on, I can tell you that the quality is very good. These felt broken in already and super comfortable, which honestly to me is super important. My clothes have to fit well and they have to be comfortable, and this kind of just checked all the boxes. For anyone who loves the vintage aesthetic specifically, this is definitely a brand that you should know and check out if you haven't already heard of them. Some really cool pieces from this brand, and I love the aesthetic of all the clothing. Everything looks really worn in. Everything looks like it's been through the wash like 100+ times. It's super soft and super faded into perfection. Can't say enough good things about my experience with the brand. Let's move on to the next. All right, next up, we have a brand from the model and stylist Vanetta Carter. I've been hearing her name more and more over the last year or so, mostly due to the collaboration that she had with Timbs, those patent leather shiny Timbs, which honestly I've seen styled really well recently. Me personally, I'm not a Timbs guy, but it got me interested. So I started doing some research, looked into her brand, and it's an accessories brand. So this is a jewelry brand. All the pieces from what I can see are going to be a gold vermeil, so real gold on the outside, and the inner core of the pieces are sterling silver or just plain 925 sterling silver. So pretty much each piece is one or the other. Personally, I'm a huge sterling silver guy, as you guys can probably tell. She had some really fun and playful kind of designs that are pretty unique. I haven't really seen these done before, so I definitely wanted to check that out, and I ended up picking up this really cool sterling silver bracelet. They call this a beaded bracelet. Usually the bracelets I go for are just like that generic Cuban link kind of vibe, but this one was pretty unique, and I love the inconsistency of the shapes of the bracelet. I'll get some close-ups of this, but I just thought it was really cool. I think this one specifically was an Essence exclusive, but she has a couple of different stockists. Essence, I think the Webster is one as well, and then of course her own website. So here's what the bracelet looks like on. I just feel like the shape and texture of the silver on this bracelet just adds a lot of like dimension and like visual interest, the same way like something like diamond cut might. So yeah, they also have a more expensive version of this that has colorful jewels. She also does rings, necklaces as well, and some of the same designs. So definitely check out Vanetta Carter. Some really fun and playful pieces, like I said, and honestly, quality accessories way more important than people really give it credit for. Next up, we have a brand called Pally Hollywood. This is a brand started in 2023 by actor James Franco and designer Kyle Lindgren. And what I think is so cool about this brand specifically, the main theme is kind of based around Hollywood and the history around film in general. Like I said, definitely a luxury streetwear kind of aesthetic, but I would say heavily inspired by vintage as well as punk. Looking at some of the pieces, it's definitely giving a similar aesthetic to what ERD has been doing, but at a slightly more affordable price point. Don't get me wrong, that's not to say these pieces are affordable in any sense, but just by comparison to ERD. They carry pretty much everything that you would expect from a luxury streetwear kind of brand. It does seem to be pretty graphic heavy, and a lot of the graphics I believe are like personal works of art from James Franco. What really drew me into the brand was like the overarching Hollywood history kind of theme to the brand. I just think that's really cool and kind of unique. Hadn't really seen that done before. And of course you get a little bit of Hollywood cosign because James Franco is involved. Makes sense. Recently I picked up two pieces from Pally Hollywood. The first was this Hollywood Forever cap. This is a snapback as well. On the front, this kind of gives like the effect of like a vintage veterans cap or something like that. That's kind of what it's giving like on first impression, first overall look and vibe of the hat. Kind of has a similar design to that. I'll probably try and find something on Google Images so you guys can see the reference that I'm thinking about in my head. On the front, you can see a bunch of different names. This is low-key like an RIP t-shirt in hat form. I'm not super young, but I'm definitely not old enough to remember a lot of these names. I ended up Googling quite a few names that are listed on the hat, and it seems like all the names listed are Hollywood or film figures from the past. I'm talking about like 1950s and earlier, and they were all pretty much iconic names from what I can gather that ended up dying tragically. So low-key kind of sad, but I think it's really cool that this hat was able to get me to research these names and kind of dive into the history of some of these really iconic people. And from what I can tell, pretty much all of these stories were like major headlines. Like these were like really well-known, really beloved actors and actresses. And I think it's really interesting to kind of look back at how long ago this celebrity kind of culture, if you will, really started. I mean, this has been going on for quite some time. And of course, how long media has played such a huge part in keeping that part of our culture going. But let's get into the second piece. The second piece I picked up is this North Hollywood hoodie. As you can see, heavily distressed. There's just distressing all throughout the hoodie. This is not even like printed on straight. Just gives like a very DIY kind of feel where it's like an asymmetric kind of print off to the side a little bit and then moving down towards the kangaroo pocket. More distressing. Some of these are like legit holes. Like this is basically a hole just with a couple of threads holding it together. No concerns of this like actually falling apart or anything. They didn't go quite that far, but definitely heavily distressed. Again, you can kind of see in the back here, this is legit a hole here. I honestly was drawn to this graphic on the back as well. Just looks and reminds me of like a vintage high school sports hoodie, kind of like a Wildcats logo. Looks hand drawn, so I wouldn't be surprised if this was hand drawn art by James Franco. This hoodie specifically is a light French terry, which is perfect here for me in Florida. I'm pretty much always a French terry guy. I stay away from fleece as much as possible. Quality is great on both of these pieces, but this is a very expensive brand. Obviously, like I said, not as expensive as ERD, but definitely by no means cheap. Being that this is a newer brand, definitely one that I'm keeping on my radar. Interested to see where this goes in the future. Moving away from streetwear, next up we have a brand called Smock. Smock is basically the in-house label for Mohawk General Store, a really cool boutique which I think is based out of LA. Really cool elevated basics brand. They pretty much got you covered with everything you need. They've got clothing, they've got accessories, they've got shoes. Recently I picked up a summer suit from them. I have a wedding that I need to go to later this week. The dress code is fun, bright, vibrant colors, not this traditional stuffy stuff. The only suits I have is just plain dark navy. So I wanted to get something a little bit different, a little bit fun for this. Definitely on the more casual side as well. So I picked up this green seersucker suit from Smock. And let me tell you, it's gorgeous and it fits great. The materials that they use for this brand are really high quality. And I think it's done at a pretty decent price for what you're getting. They actually have a sale going on right now. So I did end up getting this a little bit discounted from retail as well. But believe it or not, the suit's not actually what drew me to the brand. again, they have a bunch of other beautiful minimalistic elevated basics. That's what this brand does the best. Basic pieces that you can wear every day, from the shorts and trousers to the jackets, they got you covered. They even have some mules out right now, which are pretty cool. Not my thing, but I know mules are very trendy right now, and for good reason. Definitely check out Smock, one of the best in-house brands that I've seen from pretty much any retailer. I could honestly probably do a video about the best boutique in-house brands, and this brand would definitely make the list. Last but not least, we have a brand called Camille Fortkins. I think my first experience with Camille Fortkins was seeing some of the pieces on Canoe Club's website. Canoe Club stocks a bunch of different brands, and this is not the first brand that they put me on. But yeah, Camille Fortkins designs and owns this brand, and I believe this brand's based out of Amsterdam, and I believe it started in 2014. Similar to the last, this is like an elevated basics kind of brand, but I will say what differentiates this brand from the last one we looked at, Smock, is Camille Fortkins designs really have a playful nature to them. They definitely have an element of deconstructed or imperfections. Some of the pieces are a little bit asymmetrical. He's definitely not afraid to play around with textures and shapes. Shapes and silhouettes is a big part of his work, to be honest. The first piece that I picked up from Camille Fortkins is this lightweight brown jacket, basically more of an overshirt, a thin, lightweight material. It's very unstructured, got a little bit of elements of deconstruction. Here it is. You can kind of see the intentionally unfinished or deconstructed kind of nature of this piece. You have these two absolutely massive front pockets. Like, you could probably fit a laptop or at least an iPad in these things. And the way the jacket is cut, these pockets have a lot of extra fabric, and that leads to like a really interesting cut and shape when the jacket's worn. This is definitely one of those brands where you kind of have to experience the piece in person. There's a lot of little details and nuances about his pieces that really can't be conveyed well through just viewing the product online, even with retailers that have really good descriptions. Pretty much all the brands on this list, this is definitely like a higher price point, not cheap by any means, but I was able to get this for a really good price on Essence, and I'm glad I did. And another thing I really love about this brand is the way Camille Fortkins is able to kind of take more formal or more elevated pieces and really tone it down, or take really casual pieces and really elevate them or dress them up. Anything from basic trousers and dress shirts to full-on tracksuits to just a simple pair of shorts and a standard t-shirt. So yeah, definitely a brand to keep on your radar. Hope you guys found this helpful. Hopefully you found a brand that you had never heard before. So yeah, let me know in the comments which one was your favorite one. Definitely more content to come. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for watching and staying this far in the video. And if you like fashion content like this, feel free to subscribe. That's all I got for you guys today. Peace.